right, so now that the transmission is in the car, all that's left to do is the wiring. We need to start the car, make sure it goes into gear, figure out the coding. There are still some errors. There will be more errors while the car is running. My tuner sent me a file for starting the car without the transmission. We need to pull the sport diff out. I just want to verify for sure that the drive shaft links are going to be the same. They should be the same. I found a guy that's going to attempt to make a drive shaft. Hopefully it all works out. I don't see why it shouldn't. They make drive shafts for TTRSs. I've reached out to some big companies and they just said they won't do it. Don't say you guys can make custom drive shafts if you're not going to take on a custom drive shaft just because of a spline yoke on the front. It is what it is. We have the JXB built axles, but I just want to get rid of the sport diff for a non-sport with an LSD. The boys over at JXB are going to be coming and test fitting their sport diff brace. Now the wiring for the clutch position sensor, what I did is I wired, there's two powers. There's a wire that goes to the comfort module, and then there's a wire that goes to the e-brake module. And then there's the fourth wire that is going to go to the motor itself. Now I found out that during the wiring in the fuse box there, we found out that there's two wires, there's two outputs on the clutch position sensor. For this car, we had to tap the two wires together, and then that individual wire goes into a pin that connects the neutral safety switch on the car to the comfort module itself, and it interrupts it. I basically heat wrapped it. I took off all the trim on the inside, and I tucked it around to where all the OEM tracks is, because I just didn't want, I wanted it to be as OEM as possible. I'm probably saying this wrong, but what we found out is when you push the clutch in, it pulls from 12 volts down to 0, and that allows the car to fire up. The e-brake module, there is an input that on the diagrams show manual transmission cars. It didn't really do anything from at least what I can see in like errors and when scanning it. Basically, we had to order a harness because I wasn't paying like $40 for one pin, so I ordered a complete cutoff of an e-brake module. We had to drill in the hole for it to slide through, and then it just clipped right in. And then I basically soldered the harness in, and then basically, as far as I know, all it did is when you basically push the clutch pedal in and you start the car, it just is starting the engine. We don't know as far yet with coding if that actually does anything besides that. Now there's two power wires. There is a fuse slot on the front, fuse in the front up by the driver's door there. I don't have like the terminal to add in for an ignition fuse, but there is an ignition fuse in the trunk for the automatic transmission. So I just tapped the two wires together and then went straight all the way back and ran it with the loom for the e-brake module, and I just tapped it in there. So as far as that, all the wiring is done and the car should fire up. Woo! Well, the good news is the car starts. There are a couple things that we need to figure out now. When we removed the automatic transmission, I removed the transmission coolant pump, which kicks the fans on full tilt because it thinks something's wrong. There's no way for the car to know it's in reverse, so the reverse lights do not come on. There's no air for it. And on the manual transmissions, at least in the diagrams, it actually goes into the ECU directly. And on the automatic transmission, I believe it is sent by CAN bus through the module for communication. We're hopefully gonna see if there's a workaround where I can just tap into the wires. There is a gear recognition sensor on the transmission itself. I don't know what it sends for voltage and how it communicates and all the other stuff, but that is something I'm gonna just cross it after the car is running and moving. As far as coding, we are gonna have to kind of see on some stuff. The ABS module, I have HexNet, the ABS module, so I'm gonna try to reach out to Ross Tech and stuff to see if anyone knows what we can do. If we have to build a CAN bus module to imitate an automatic transmission module, hopefully that might work. We don't really know. So right now, the for sure errors that this car has is a TPMS error and a parking brake error. Someone sent me TDI coding for the ABS module, but because I'm assuming the actual coding is not in the module itself, it won't let you change the coding, it just gets rejected. Now, I don't know if there's a workaround where I just buy a European manual ABS module. If someone knows, that'd be amazing, and reach out to me because I would love to know. On my car, I wanted to delete the sport diff. I didn't want to deal with any of the sport diff problems, rebuilds, you name it. With that being said, I'm going with a non-sport differential because with the manual transmission swap, I cannot reuse the same differential that the automatics have. Gearing in the manual transmission is different than the DSG, which is also different from the ZF8. So I had to get a matching differential to the manual transmission. And I wanted a non-sport because then we're gonna throw in Jay's LSD in the rear. So I can just have an LSD in the rear end. Now, with that being said, I had Jay's sport differential axles. You cannot reuse these with the non-sport because the non-sport itself is smaller. So if you look, the axles are different lengths. And now the driver's side and the passenger side, the axles are the same length on a non-sport, but they are different on a sport differential. Kind of a tongue twister, but hopefully that makes sense. Now what sucks is I have to get rid of these complete units of axles. I mean, they weigh probably over double because these are hollow and these are actually solid. Jay doesn't make an axle for the non-sport because they rarely break. So now that the bag is out, we are able, because there's no differential in the car, we're able to pull the axle straight out. So we're gonna get into putting both the axles in, and then we're gonna put the non-sport differential up inside the car now.
Get these on our website.
Oh, dude, take that fucking bracket off of it.
Look up. Now, on my car in particular, I made a 6mm airline upgrade kit probably well over a year ago. So what I was doing in the meantime is no one makes a OEM style crimp connector, and I just used two butt connectors, like push to connect fittings. So what I did is I just haven't installed this, so I designed this upsizer, I guess, and it uses an OEM 6mm and then OEM 4mm. Because what I was going to do is, when I made the kit, I wanted to change the bag. This is a plastic fitting on the bag itself, and there's no room to put a direct airline like upgrade size directly into the OEM fitting. You can do it on the front, but you can't do it on the rear, especially because this is plastic. So if you strip this fitting out, you're kind of screwed, and you have to buy a whole new bag because it's plastic. Be on the lookout. I might be releasing these. If I get like 100 likes on this video, I'll release it. It's been on my car for, well, besides this piece itself, it's been on my car for like well over a year. So it makes the air up and air down speeds a lot faster than the OEM 4mm. Now that we have the car started, there is some stuff that we need to figure out. From removing the transmission, we removed the transmission pump for the coolant, which kicks the fan on to be full tilt at idle. My tuner is going to send me a revision today to code that out, and hopefully that just turns that off. We have to scan the car now that it's running and get a full gateway scan, where a full scan of the car running to see what it really throws. Obviously, there's probably going to be more errors after we drive the car, but because we don't have the drive shaft yet, we cannot really drive the car.